Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show y'all how to make your own custom clay cutters out of pre-made clay cutters, if that makes sense. So you can start off with just some round ones and then make them into whatever shape that you like. But let's go ahead and get the camera turned around and get started. We have some different examples of the different shapes and styles of cutters that are available on the market. All of these I think I got just off of Amazon. There will be links down in the video description, and anything that you purchase through those links goes a long way in supporting our channel. But anyways, these are fondant cutters. These are probably my absolute favorite style because, as you can see with cutters like this one here, it has this little join, this kind of shape that whenever you cut the clay, it can actually, it leaves an imprint, like a little, shape in there, whereas these are seamless, and that's so nice. But they're made out of a plastic that even whenever I heat it up, I can't really get it to like reshape or anything. But it's a fondant cutter, so that's why it comes into such large sizes. But those actually come in really handy whenever I'm doing fairy houses. And I've been able to get those in the oval as well as rectangular. And I'm really interested in getting into doing 3D printing. That way I can 3D print my own versions of these, because they even have such a nice like beveled taper down to where it's like a sharp cutting edge, and this wider part for pushing with your fingers. So nice. But they're also super durable for when you throw them on the floor. But this video is about how to use these round fondant cutters, which I've actually found that fondant cutters are a little bit more affordable sometimes than polymer clay cutters, even though they are pretty much like almost exactly the same thing. So it's just a set of round fondant cutters, and you can see it still has this kind of divoted little join, whereas maybe the clay cutters, yeah, same style of join. But you can take round ones and make graduated size sets in the same shape. And that's why I do prefer to buy a little set like this, as opposed to there is a product on the market which is like a make your own cookie cutter thing that's just a real long strip of this stuff. But I like that these are already pre-measured, they're already pre-joined, and it's a little too convenient for the price. But it is good to know that that other product is out there. So I had made, this is an example of a kind of shield shape that I had made using a round set, and I really love these for whenever I cut cabochons. Then I also have using a square cutter, because I've found I like squares the least for whenever I'm making jewelry, and all of this is my own personal preference, but I really like this kind of surfboard almond shape that this makes. And you can see the backside is very like irregular, like I've got all these lumps and shapes and things, but the front side is nice and straight, and that's where I'm concerned about, because that's the part that's actually cutting the imprint out of the clay. And I also want to show you guys how to modify. I had purchased a heart cookie cutter set, but the hearts were so like I don't know, lacking, I felt, in shape and stuff. And so I'm going to start by demonstrating with the heart, because this is something that you can do even just almost by hand, which the tools that we're going to be using here are a couple of different nylon jaw pliers, just whatever you have on hand. Also some flat nose, round nose, and bent nose pliers can come in really handy, and it's just use whatever you have on hand. So I'm going to be coming in with my bent nose pliers, which these are some petite tipped pliers. Again, links to all the tools down below. And just kind of grab it, and bracing with my fingers, I'm going to deepen this curve just a little, and then pushing, try to pinch it together, just because I want a little bit deeper of a heart shape. Then we can also take our round nose pliers and bring it in up pretty to the larger part of the nose of the pliers and just kind of, again, twisting around. So I'm gripping right through there and then just bending that around. Just trying to get a little bit deeper. There we are. But now I need to make that a little larger on this side. And so much of anything crafty is you can know all the theories, all the everything of how you think you're going to need to do it, but until you're actually in there doing it, you never know. And so I'm actually taking the handle of a paintbrush and pushing it up to reshape and kind of stretch. It also is a mandrel to gauge the size. This one's pretty large, like it covers up. Like it goes almost to the, it goes to the dash on the tag on our paintbrush, because, you know, rulers. And so I'm just going to line it back up on the other side and then stretch that so that we're at least getting a similar shape on that side. And so now this one is a little off-centered, but I kind of like that. Could give us a nice sassy little heart shape that we could stamp out. And I just did that same thing on a larger scale. And so that's how I was able to modify my heart cutters to get them to be a little bit more to the shape that I preferred as a designer. So now I'm going to use trying to get this surfboard shape. Let me zoom out just a bit. So I'm going to begin by just taking a finger on each side like this and stretching. And you can see it gave me a very bulbed end. Woo! So we can push it back in. Oh, that's kind of neat with a little diamond shape. Now, there's this tool from Tiny Pandora that are actually for making canes. But what I'm going to do is just use, and you could use any, you know, square mandrel that you have or anything that would kind of hold that, like an aluminum angle would work pretty well. But I'm just going to take one and put it on either end and use that to maintain that shape. So I'm gripping and pulling. There we are. Still a little bulbous beyond what I would have preferred, but it's just a way of going about it. And so, and I'm using a ceramic tile. This was like $1 maybe at the hardware store to line our sides out. And so now we have much more of a diamond shape. But to round out this side, this is where I'm going to come in with these bracelet curving pliers and try to line it up just right in the middle. And I'm focusing on the edged side where you're going to be cutting through your clay and just squeeze. And you can see that's going to give us a really nice curve. Then we're going to come around to the other side, again making sure that it's lined up, and squeeze. And you can actually just ride up the whole way. Get that curve in there. So there, we're getting a nice shape, and you can kind of just, I'm pinching in with my thumbs and pinkies and then bowing out with my fingers. And just kind of tweak it to get it to be however you want. You can see I actually have some clay oozing out of this spot right here. And this is where I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and just crimp this down like really hard. And I start from the center and work my way towards the edge. And that way it squeezes out any excess clay. But periodically, whenever I'm doing like a lot of projects, as I'm doing the project, I'll go through and clean out the clay, especially before I change colors or something, just to avoid cross-contaminating. And so we started out with just a square cutter and then ended up with something that I haven't been able to find in a cutter shape. So you can see you can get a teardrop with one point, but not this kind of almond or surfboard shape. almost like a lily petal. If it were a little longer, like if I squeezed it down a bit, you could make like Asiatic lilies with this shape of cutter. And again, by having the graduated set, we can come through and I don't know, let's see what would happen. No, that won't quite fit in. I was wondering what would happen if we just went barreling in with the bracelet rounder, but it won't fit. But they do have some nylon gel round nose pliers on the market that you might be able to fiddle around a bit with. So let's try this same approach, or same design, different approach with one of the smaller ones. So there I just braced it on its side point and have pressed down a bit. Just trying to see if I can, yeah, get those pliers in. And then smoosh, double dip, smoosh. Even that, oh, that makes such a nice little fan shape. Well, there you go. That's kind of nice. Well, we'll have to get another square set to do that, or I could do it with the round, but so again, quite long from what I would like. And then we can come in with a paintbrush and just use it. I'm gripping, you know, with my fingers down here, just holding it and pressing. Then we can flip it and press. So, I mean, you can be as careful and precise as you would like. I kind of like the more organic, flowy, like, whoops, well, I guess it's just like that. Just because I'm not very good at being precise. So, there we go. Didn't mean that I shouldn't practice, though. So there we are. Now I'm not going to bother with the smallest one because honestly I typically don't like the very smallest cutters in sets like this. I very much prefer to use something like these Kemper cutters that are like this, because you'll see they have a plunger on them, whereas something like this, if I cut, then I have a really hard time getting my finger down in there, and I leave like fingernail imprints. And I've tried using like the end of a tool and stuff, and it's just, I feel like these guys do a better job at it, and they have such a wide variety of shapes of these that I'll usually just leave these ones alone. But yeah, so there's a little set of lily petals made from square cutters. Could have done something very similar just by rounding out the curves on these diamond ones, but I actually really like using the diamond shapes in some of my stuff, so I leave that one alone. And so now to do this shape with the round cutters, let's do, because you can see this one was made from that size. This one was made from that size. Then this one was made from that size. So let's go ahead and make another one in this size. That seems to be a pretty popular, whenever I sell cabochons on my Etsy shop, that seems to be the size that people go for the most. So I try to not do a bend on the little point. Well, you know, though it really worked out here. But do you see how I had where it's overlapping? I had it right there. I think I have better luck doing that than if I had had it where instead of having the seam line up at the tip there, if I'd had the seam line up, or if I had the tip line up with this seam, I feel like this one would be like overhanging all weird. But I don't know, we can try it. Because I don't want to risk breaking it. Yeah, that was my thought process, is if I hold it on the join, and I'm just using my flat nose pliers here, if I hold it on that join, then even whenever I'm bending and stuff, it's not going to risk breaking apart. So I'm holding it quite firmly, and I'm just going to come in, bracing with my thumb, or however you like, and pinch. And so I'm just putting pressure and just bending these 2 points towards each other. And so I feel like that's a fantastic way to get a nice fat little teardrop, which I love that shape. I love a little chubby teardrop. And I do like to do that on both sides because you'll find your pliers will want to like dimple and leave trace that they were there. And so if you can just do that on both sides of it, then it looks a lot more convincing. Now, you could totally get your math on and be like, oh, well, I need to do this one like equidistant and stuff. I'm not good at that. So if I had gotten the circumference, of the circle first, and then divided it and then kind of like measured with like a tape measure, which I guess, I don't know, I don't have one by me. You can totally, and I would recommend measuring it and marking it, but let's just eyeball it for fun because that's what I do. So I'm just going to eyeball, there's the center point. So like I'm going to try like here and here on the shoulders. So again, just grabbing. And also I kind of want it where it's not exactly like this one, but because this one I feel like is longer on the sides and narrower on the top. I'm going to try one that's wider on the top and narrower on the sides. So I'm going to come like, oof, maybe a fingertips length away from the crease and put it like right there. That looks, yeah, do it whatever you want. There's no wrong way as long as you do it ish on both sides or just pretend like it's what you wanted from the start. So I'm holding quite firmly, bracing with my thumb, and bend. Now again, you'll want to focus on making sure that you have a nice clean bend on the cutting side. It doesn't matter a whole lot what it looks like on the back side. Okay, so that's a pretty nice little bend. We're gonna come out this way now, and I think even that looks kind of cute. We could bend it into a little cat head shape. Oh, like, okay, so how it's round, we could totally come in. Oh, I don't know if I should. Well, I have another one that's close to this size. Decisions are hard. I don't know, because I need all those circle ones. Well, if I came in and gripped it here and braced there, we're getting a cat head, guys. I'm experimenting. So we'll bend down like that. Ooh, it's gonna be a chubby little Pusheen. So did you see how, hopefully you saw, and I just focused on doing it the pliers width apart from the first bend. And then we're gonna flip it over. Put our flat nose pliers in where the side of them is lining up with our previous crease, bracing with my thumb, and then I'm bending the pliers towards myself. Please don't break. I need you to work. It has to be a cat head. I need the kitty cat head. Chubby little Pusheen. Now here we run into the problem that my tips are a little thicker on one side than they are on the other, so it is not bending evenly. So I gotta get in there and just keep working with it. That little cat head. Meow meow. Sorry. Oh, this was totally unexpected, but I kind of prefer it. Oh, little chubby kitten. Okay, so yeah, so that's a little cat head, and you could shape the chin a little bit, but I just want to make like little kawaii like cat heads. So yeah, so that's a way that you could do something unexpected entirely. And so don't hesitate to go in and experiment. This set, I think, was like $3 for the whole set. So definitely, like, it's definitely worth spending. I would spend like $10 and just experiment to your heart's content. Now, I did want to show you guys cutters like these, which I personally do not enjoy using in my work. Just, it's not really my style, but something that you may consider is if you're doing like polymer clay sugar cookies, you can do like the base with a straight edged cutter and then do like a frosting layer with a crinkly edge cutter. So again, none of these are so horribly expensive that if you get it and you're like, it's not really my favorite thing to use, that it's like, oh no, that was like a bajillion dollars. But of all of my cutters, I use these guys the absolute least. But they make super cute cookies. So there is that. And I think that's basically the gist of it, guys, other than y'all just getting out there and making your own clay cutters and experimenting with it and having fun. Hey y'all, thanks so much for hanging out with me for this video. I hope that it was helpful to you. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. I am so in love with this little cat head. I cannot wait to cut some clay with it and make like little eyes and then make like little paws that have like the toe beans on them. I'm excited. Okay. Yeah, any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. If you make anything following along with my tutorials or just want to show me what you're up to, you can share it to my social media, links for which are down below on my, like you can post it on my Facebook wall or tag me on Instagram. And then also, we do a lot of stuff over on Patreon and not just for pledgers. So all you need is a Patreon account and you can see all sorts of behind the scenes stuff. You can vote on a lot of our polls. And then of course, the more you pledge, the more you get, all the way up to our different craft crates where you can actually get some handmade cabochons that I usually sell on my Etsy store. But you get a crate of them at like, well, I say a crate, but it's like a bag. But the more you pledge, the more you get. So be sure to check that stuff out because I love sharing my craftiness with y'all, and I love that y'all share your craftiness with me. Y'all inspire me every day. So thank you so much, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye.